We are in an era of great change in the world of employment. A record number of people left their jobs last year. About 40 million people either quit for other jobs, decided to open their own business, or they retired early. What does this mean for all of us? Well, financial planner Drue Kampmann is here with some insights on early retirement. Drue, did you have a lot of your clients do this recently?
I've seen, yeah. By the way, good to see you today, Paula. Thanks
you too, Drue. Hi.
I've seen such a significant uptick in this, more than I've ever seen in my life in the last 2 years in my career. So it's significantly changing the landscape of the job market.
And before we get to the main tips, what are the reasons you're hearing? People just want to get more in what they would call enjoyment out of life earlier? Or what are you hearing about the reasons for early retirement?
I think my opinion on this goes back to, I think a lot in the lockdowns. I think a lot of people had a lot of time to reflect and find a better job-life balance. And not only that, but then you also saw the pressure cooker for a lot of the frontline workers and a lot of service workers in the service, market. I think these people took the brunt of a lot of this, and a lot of people just got burnt out, frankly. Yeah. And I can say that because I've seen most of that with a lot of my clients retiring early, and when they're looking at maybe 5 to 10 years out, they retired early because of those things.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. That makes great sense.
Yeah.
But there are things to think about because you got to make your money stretch more. So, your first point about an issue when it comes to early retirement is that it puts a lot of pressure on your investments. Talk about that.
Sure. If you look at somebody that's going to retire in their 60s, life expectancy says that they're going to need their nest egg to last them 20, 25 years based on life expectancies. But if you retire early and in your 50s, now you're talking 30 to 35 years. And you've also missed out probably on some of your best earnings years for your savings side. So not only are you not able to save as much as you possibly could have if you would have worked into your 60s or mid 60s, but now you've got to make that money last longer. And that puts a lot of pressure on the nest egg.
Yeah. Are there, at that point, somebody's wanting to retire at 50 or 55 or even before. How can you help them? Because the money you have is the money you have. What do you suggest for them?
I think it goes down to structuring, number one, and creating a plan that has a life expectancy according to their life expectancy, number one. We don't want them to have to unretire, of course, but it's also about holding accountability in their spending plan, in their retirement plan. It's all about navigating the ups and downs of the markets. I think there's a lot to add for having a planner or an advisor on their team because it's going to provide that accountability and it's going to help them assess and make good financial decisions when maybe there's some question marks there. So I think it's important to have that.
Okay, so now the two main things about senior life. Social Security at age 62 and Medicare at age 65. So your next point is about if you're not 62 yet, you've got to self-fund yourself before you start seeing any Social Security payments. So how do you prepare people for that?
So if you retire, let's say at 55 and you qualify for Social Security at 62, that's 7 years of a gap, an income gap, where you're going to have to self-fund. You're going to have to fund those gaps until you acquire the age of 62. And that maybe it doesn't make sense to file for Social Security at 62. Maybe it's full retirement age, whether that's 66 or 67 or 66 in so many months. There's a pretty wide gap for somebody retiring at 55 to qualify for Social Security. So now you're going to have to spend more of your nest egg up front just to get you to Social Security. So there's some concerns there in how to structure those retirement assets to last you that time frame too, and beyond, because you're funding more up front than you will on the back end.
Do you tell people to start drawing right at 62 or to wait?
That's a great question. I think it varies. I mean, most of the time, I think people should plan on drawing Social Security at full retirement age. I think that should be the plan because that means you're going to have a greater amount of income later in life, which takes some of the pressure off the nest egg because you're going to have to draw. You won't have to draw as much. But if you draw early, I mean, it's easy to say, well, tell me when you're going to die, and I'll tell you when you should draw
I
Social
know,
Security.
right? That's the problem.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all the roll of the dice. It's a lot of guesswork. But there are components in that decision-making process that are important to address before you actually make that decision. Because some people will say, well, I'm going to draw at 62. But in reality, it'll make sense if you draw at 67, depending on if you're married or if you're single. So there's all kinds of variables. So I can't say one way or the other, but I would say it's a very important decision-making process.
Okay, Drue, I over-talked on this segment because this is my age range, but I have to get one more thing in there, and that's health insurance. Your health insurance is your biggest financial burden until you turn 65 for Medicare. So covering your health insurance is the third prong that's important.
Absolutely, and it's also unknown because we don't know how much that's going to cost you each and every year. So it's a very important decision when you're going to have to fill that gap, not only with health insurance, but also from the nest egg to fund that health insurance coverage.
Okay. So with all those answers, don't retire early. No, I don't know.
Can't say that.
It's still a personal decision as everything in life, and we have that freedom here in the good old U.S. of A. True Financial Partners. That's Drue's place, and Drue, you and your co-workers do a great job in taking care of us. So good seeing you today.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, great seeing you. Thank you.